let's get cozy and talk about some data science. I'm very cozy. Today, we are talking about data transformation. Data transformation is 80% of a data scientist's job. Really fun and fresh, right? You'd think it's modeling. No, data transformation. So let's talk about it. What is data transformation? It is essentially every single step that needs to happen before you can put something into a model. So first, you're gonna get what's called raw data. Raw. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's probably not great looking. So you have to perform all sorts of transformations to get it looking like what you want it to look like. So first we want to start with just understanding our data. This can be called exploratory data analysis or data transformation. Let's start with some basic statistics. Let's pretend, for example, we're working with a tabular data set, which means there's mostly numbers in there. Numbers, maybe some categories, but nothing crazy. No text, no image, just standard data set, right? First, we're gonna calculate some just basic statistics. So like your min, your max, are there outliers? Like how is this data scaled? We're gonna look at the mean, maybe we'll look at standard deviation, and you can do all of this with like NumPy, SciPy, Pandas, like whatever you like to work with. So this is gonna tell us if we need to do any standardization or normalization and like what the distribution of our data is looking like. After that, we are going to also calculate any missing values. We're gonna go column by column and see if there's missing values. And it's okay if there are some, we just need to know so that we can manage them. Managing these missing values is called imputing. So there's a couple ways that we can impute. We can just get rid of the rows that have missing data in general. You probably don't wanna do that unless there's really only like one or two. But what is most logical is you will fill something in those rows. So what are we going to fill in? It depends on the type of data. So if you have numerical data, you could do calculations. So you could either use like your average, your median, you could do some sort of like deep learning, KNN, like K nearest neighbor. There's a lot of complex things that you could do. It's really just gonna depend on how accurate you need this data to be. You have like categorical data, say like housing types, like house, apartment, like it's a category, it's a word. You can't do any calculations with it. We could use most frequent imputing. So say almost every column is house and you have a couple categories that are apartment or condo or like boat, I don't know, wherever you're living. You could just fill in house because chances are it's probably going to be that one. And then like I said before, you can also do some sort of deep learning method to predict this. So that would be like classification based on the other data. But these are just all sorts of extra steps that get computationally expensive. So you may or may not want to do that depending on what your use case is. And back to standardization and normalization. So that is basically just getting your data all to be similar shapes so that you can find the patterns. Most data sets will have like a distribution and you just want to like cut off any like outliers or anything weird that's going on that like maybe was like the data is actually wrong. So it's a very valid thing. Like it's going to skew your results if you have a number that's really, really high that's just not even correct. Options for normalization to get things on a similar scale. We could use scale to range, Clippians, log scaling, and z-scores. Other things that you might do in a data transformation phase are things like data augmentation, which is essentially just making more data. There's a bunch of different methods that I can cover in another video, but these are just the beginning steps of data transformation. You will also need to go through feature selection, feature engineering, tokenization, all these types of things. So follow along for more content like this. Bye.